I don't know.
I'm logging in. I was hoping that she was sending you because she was sitting there doing a program. Yeah. That would be for, that would be for but we have a lot more flexibility. I'm gonna start exactly. Yeah, or like read the law and then just like there's exceptions and like that and yeah. I don't know, you want blanket or? And I still haven't asked Elon. I told him like I'm gonna send it to everyone. I don't think he thought it. Like, I did everyone with the public for the past 2 years, all the three apps that we ever had. So it was a good turnout. It's not, it's just a list. You always have a list. It's basically your list to pull from. Overwork. You should see like now we have this many slots to see like to see.
Hi, this
Hi,
is
good
Francis.
afternoon, everyone. My name is Karina Xochimil, Business Service Representative from Southeast LA JCC. I will be your host for this Region 2 Business Services Virtual Town Hall. Thank you for joining us. What the purpose of this meeting, what we're going to go ahead and go over is worker rights and resources during COVID-19. We want to empower our region in combating and staying together during this crisis, align the needs of our business partners and our communities with resources in these challenging times. So I am going to do a roll call of our guest speakers. Alina, are you on the meeting? Alina?
Masyadong malakas, di ko marinig ito.
All right, do we have Francis?
Hi, this is Francis. Hi, this is Francis from
Thank
the
you for-
U.S. Department of Labor.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Do we have Mr. Daniel Sharp?
Unmuted just a second ago. Hi, everyone.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Do we have Tracy Andrews?
Yes, I am here.
All right. Good afternoon. Do we have Christian Olmos?
Yes, I'm here.
$3.99. Ayan.
All right, perfect. And then we will be going over AJCC resources in a bit. All right, let me go ahead and double check. Elena? She's in.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Hi. All right, perfect. All right, Elena. Are you able to go ahead and let's see. We're going to have Ms. Elena Peretanian go ahead and go over and present resources regarding wage enforcement. Elena, are you able to share your screen?
Okay, let me try. Because you cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing.
Okay, give me a quick minute.
Hi.
All right. Go ahead and try it again.
It's the same thing.
Give me a quick minute. Hey, do you guys know? All right. Can you try it one more time?
Okay.
$15.99.
Okay.
All right, perfect.
Did I see it?
Yeah.
Okay, should I start?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alina Peretanian, and I'm an investigator with LA County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs' Wage Enforcement Program. Today, we're going to talk about the LA County Minimum Wage Ordinance and also the Santa Monica Minimum Wage Ordinance.
Yeah.
So, LA County Minimum Wage Ordinance became effective July 1st of 2016. Years with 26 or more employees, and for employers with 25 or fewer employees, it became effective July 1st of 2017. Currently, the unincorporated LA County minimum wage is $14.25 for large businesses and $13.25 for small employers. There's going to be an increase July 1st, 2020 to $15.1425. Who is covered under the ordinance? Who is considered an employee under the county minimum wage ordinance? So any employee who performs at least 2 hours of work in the unincorporated LA County area is entitled, in a week, is entitled to receive the LA County minimum wage. Part-time employees, full-time employees, and any employees that are on probation. How do you determine, so I mentioned unincorporated LA County, so this minimum wage applies to only unincorporated LA County areas. And how do we determine it? So unincorporated LA County is areas where city, it's an area where it doesn't have council. They don't have their own city. For example, if you go to the county, that's one of the ways you can determine whether you are in the unincorporated or not. Other resources, the best one is the lavote.net. It's the link through the LA County Registrar Recorder, where it helps you to determine whether your business or for employees, where you perform work, it's unincorporated or not, and what rate you should be paid. I just want to have a quick run through the website, so people can go through the website and check to see if they're in the unincorporated or not. So when you go to the Registrar Recorder website, this is the screen you're gonna see, and it says home number and street name. You're gonna enter, for example, we are gonna use 2070 Montrose Avenue. So 2070 Montrose, we're not gonna put any avenue street. That's not gonna give us any results. So when we put 2070 Montrose, we are gonna get the full address, which is 2070 Montrose Avenue in California, 91020. We will click on the address, and this is the page we're gonna see. We only need to go to the 6th bullet point once we are on this page, which says unincorporated Montrose. So whenever we see the word unincorporated, that means it's located in the unincorporated LA County, which means the business needs to comply by the LA County minimum wage ordinance and not the state. Next example, it says City of Vernon. So City of Vernon does not have its own minimum wage ordinance, so they will follow the state minimum wage. Next example says City of LA. So City of LA has its own minimum wage ordinance. So any business that is located in the City of LA must comply, must follow the City of LA minimum wage ordinance. Their minimum wage rates are the same as the county rates. Next one is City of Santa Clarita. Again, City of Santa Clarita does not have a minimum wage ordinance, so they will follow the state minimum wage. Notice requirements. On your right side on the screen, you're seeing the LA County minimum wage poster. So it is a requirement that every employer that is located in the unincorporated LA County area must post a poster which tells them the minimum wage rates and the employees' rights under the ordinance. The ordinance says that the poster needs to be put in English and Spanish in a conspicuous place where employees can see on a daily basis. If the employer does not have a physical location in the unincorporated area, then employer is required to provide the notice to each employee who perform work in the area every year. Record keeping. So according to the county ordinance, every employer, every business must keep accurate and complete records pertaining to each employee for a period of 4 years. This will, for the purposes of monitoring, the employer must allow our department, the CBA, to access those payroll records, allow us to interview persons such as employees, and they must cooperate with our investigation. So how are we enforcing the county minimum wage? First of all, we make sure that the employers know their responsibilities under the minimum wage ordinance. And we do this by counseling the employers. So in our department, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, we have counselors on the phone who can answer any type of questions. And also we do proactive visits. Proactive visits, we go door to door businesses and educate them on the county minimum wage ordinance. Also, we provide counseling to employees, and we do accept complaints, and we basically do investigation to make sure the business is compliant by the county minimum wage ordinance. So investigation, so I'm going to talk about what is the purpose of the investigation, what are we investigating, and we're going to talk about our correction order and the wage enforcement order. So the purpose of the investigation is to find facts that will allow the CBA to identify and address the violation of the county minimum wage ordinance. We use both complaint-driven and proactive strategies to ensure that the violations are identified which means that, for example, we can receive a complaint from an employee, but we don't have to have a complaint. We can just choose a business, choose an industry, and decide to do an investigation to make sure the business is in compliance with the LA County minimum wage ordinance. So what are we investigating? The county ordinance gives the CBA the authority to enforce the provision of the ordinance, which includes unpaid wages, retaliation, a failure to post a poster, if they fail to allow access to payroll records, or if they don't maintain payroll records. This is what we are investigating. During the investigation, if the investigator determines that there's a violation of the minimum wage ordinance, then the investigator may serve a correction order. Correction order is like a fix-a-ticket. The investigator will identify the violation that needs to be corrected and give a reasonable amount of time to the business to correct the violation. With this correction order, we request records such as payroll records, time card records, in order for us to do an audit to determine if there's a violation of the minimum wage ordinance. So if we find that there is a violation, then the CBA will issue a wage enforcement order. This is an order where it states that the business is in violation. There will be amounts that are owed in back wages and that are owed in fines to the employees and to the county. When the business receives this wage enforcement order, they must post it in a conspicuous place within 24 hours. And any person, the business, the employee, or any third party may contest to this order by filing a request for reconsideration with the CBA within 20 days from the days of service. And then the CBA must issue a reconsideration decision within 20 days. If after the determination, if the business or a third party, anyone who does not agree with this decision, they might file with the hearing officer. And after that step, the case can be taken to court. If the hearing officer decision, they won't appeal the hearing officer decision, they will go to court. So this is the county minimum wage ordinance from the start, how we investigate the correction order and how we close out the case, how we issue the wage enforcement order. Next, we're going to talk about the Santa Monica. Santa Monica has its own minimum wage ordinance as well, and the CBA is contracted to enforce the Santa Monica minimum wage ordinance. The Santa Monica minimum wage ordinance establishes the minimum wage in the city of Santa Monica for employees who perform 2 or more hours of work in a week in the boundaries of the city of Santa Monica. Again, employees or employers can use the LAvote.net website to determine if an address falls within City of Santa Monica. City of Santa Monica minimum wage schedule, they follow the same schedule as the county. Currently, it is $14.25 for 26 or more employees, and for 25 or less, it's $13.25. And beginning 2022, the schedule will change based on the CPI. On your right, you're seeing the notice for the City of Santa Monica. Again, as the county, every employer in City of Santa Monica must post this official notice in English and Spanish in a conspicuous area every year, which tells the employees the current minimum wage and their rights under the ordinance. Also, they have a provision where every employee at the time of hire must receive the employer's name, address, and telephone number. Besides the minimum wage, Santa Monica also has a paid sick leave provision and a hotel worker minimum wage. So the paid sick leave provision, again, it's divided with 26 or more employees and 25 or fewer employees. Currently, businesses in Santa Monica must provide their employees 72 hours of paid sick leave if they're a large business, 26 or more, and they must provide 40 hours of paid sick leave if there's 25 or fewer employees. The business can also choose to accrue paid sick leave hours, and the accrual happens every 30 hours of work. They must provide 1 hour of paid sick leave. Santa Monica, again, also has a hotel worker minimum wage. Anyone who works at the hotel premises, this also could be gardeners hired by the hotel workers, or a boutique shop rented to a business. Anyone who is on the hotel premises is entitled to be paid the hotel worker minimum wage. Currently, a hotel worker minimum wage is $16.63. It'll go up July 1st, 2020, based on the CPI, but they haven't posted that yet. Record keeping statute of limitation for Santa Monica, the employers must retain payroll records for each employee for no less than 3 years. In the statute of limitation to prosecute any case, any violation of that or an administrative citation, it can be done within 3 years after the discovery of the violation. Retaliation, the employer must not take any adverse action against anyone, any person, any employee who's trying to exercise their rights under the law. And we do investigations for Santa Monica. So what is our role and how do we accept complaints? And we are going to talk about citations. The investigator will make a determination whether a complaint is substantiated or unsubstantiated based on evidence gathered. So we gather evidence by conducting site inspections. We will go out to the business, talk to the business owner, look at their poster, and request records. We will interview employees, review documents and records, and perform anything else that is necessary to determine whether there's a violation or not. What are we investigating? So we investigate the provisions of the Santa Monica ordinance, which includes unpaid wages, first-time learner provisions, paid sick leave law, and a hotel worker minimum wage. The way the CBA accepts complaints is either in person, online, email, phone, or community-based organizations. It also includes complaints that are anonymous. Complaint is received, there will be determine the jurisdiction. So when we are doing site inspection, we serve the business request for records form to determine if there's a violation. The request for record form identifies the documents that DCBA is requesting, which usually includes payroll records, time card records, paid sick leave report, and anything else necessary. And then we provide the business reasonable time to produce those records. Once we receive the records, the DCBA audits those records and then determines if there's a violations of the Santa Monica minimum wage ordinance, and then issues the business, if there are violations, then we serve them an administrative citation, which contains the fines that the business is being fined for violating the ordinance, an order that prohibits them from continuing the violation. And there's a description of the payment, the process, and where it needs to be paid. If the business does not agree with the citation, then they can file an appeal with the hearing officer. And that's it. If you guys have if there are any questions, we're ready to answer.
All right, Elena, thank you so much for that information. Do we have any questions for Elena? No. All right, okay, so now we're going to go ahead and give some time to Frances Lee. She is from the United States Department of Labor, who's going to go ahead and give us some information regarding the resources that are available. Thank you. Go ahead, Frances.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Frances. I'm with the U.S. Department of Labor. We under the Division of Employee Benefit Security Administration, and I'm here to give you information about your health benefit right and retirement benefit right. So our department here, we do administer the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, which is abbreviated, it's ERISA. And that we also, under this act, we govern the retirement plan, including 401k profit sharing plan. Under this plan is also regulate over health benefit plans such as health insurance plan, disability and life insurance plan. So also under ERISA Act, it also include health insurance over the law of health coverage continuation and portability provision of the Consolidated um, Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act, which is stand for COBRA, and also the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, which is HIPAA, HIPAA, and also as well as the protection added by the Affordable Care Act. And I'm going to kind of go over those acts and what's your right, especially when you're facing a job loss or reduction in number of hours. Or now I know a lot of company employee due to the health crisis, employee been out on furlough. That could affect your health benefits. So I'm going to kind of go over what are the options available to help you preventing regarding your health benefits. And one of the health insurance option are such as COBRA. COBRA is the law that allow you to continue to participate into your employer group health plan um, once your coverage is ended. So, and this COBRA apply only to employer plan that is our private sector um, and public sector too. But what our department only regulate over private sector for employer that is have 20 or more employees. And how COBRA work is that once your coverage ended, the employer have 44 days to send the COBRA package out to you. Once you receive that package, you have 60 days to elect whether you want to continue your coverage. And then the initial payment, you have 45 days to make the initial payment. The only difference between a COBRA participant versus when you was an active employee, um, you now have to pay 100% of the premium 2% administrative cost. So it can be expensive, but it is your option and your right. And you can continue in a monthly basis for a total of 18 months. And also your coverage will, once you elect it, your coverage will reinstate retroactively back to the last day of your coverage that was terminated. So that's one option. The next option you have is what we call HIPAA, HIPAA. It's a special enrollment with the under this law. It allow you to special enrollment into your spouse employer plan. So let's say if your spouse is covered under your plan, and now due to the qualifying event that your employment ended, now you allow to instead to special enrollment into your spouse. If your spouse working and have cover with another employer, now you're able to special enrollment into your spouse employer plan without have to wait until the annual open enrollment period. You have 30 days to notify your spouse employer to enroll into their plan. So that's also another option. The other option too under the HIPAA special enrollment is that now under the Affordable Care Act, you also allow to special um, three options available. What we also advise participants to, if you do have insurance, 401k or retirement benefit through your company, um, always advise you to make sure you have copy of your most current benefit statement, copy of your plan If you need to enroll into individual policy with our market exchange, you can call the 800-318-2596. Thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Francis. Now we're going to go ahead and have over Mr. Daniel Sharp from the Office of Immigrant Affairs. Mr. Sharp, are you able to go ahead and share your screen?
I am doing that right now. And so let me see here. Should have it on the screen in just a second here. Computer is a little slow. So I'm going to jump into the presentation while it starts to load. And if you could just let me know when everyone can see it on the screen.
Will do.
Okay. Is it visible now?
It is not. Yeah. All right, we're able to see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so yes, I'm the chief of the Office of Immigrant Affairs, which is also within the LA Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. And just to jump in quickly, because we have limited time, I'm going to cover the issue of public charge very briefly, and then focus on resources for immigrants during the pandemic, and then mention very briefly the pending DACA case at the Supreme Court and the implications there, and then reference everyone to the resources that our office, the Office of Immigrant Affairs, has available for immigrants in LA County. And just really quickly, before getting into the material, just a little note. I recognize a lot of the folks on this call may be immigrants themselves. They may come from immigrant families, have relatives, spouses who are immigrants. So I realize a lot of folks have familiarity with some of what I'm going to discuss and with the profile of immigrants in LA County, but just a 10,000-foot view, I think, helps put in perspective. We have 3.5 million immigrants in this county. That is a larger population than the population of 20 of the 50 US states. About half of our immigrant population in the county are citizens. Roughly another quarter have legal permanent resident status. About a quarter are also undocumented, nearly 900,000 individuals in the county. And you see on the screen the massive economic contributions to the country's gross domestic product from immigrants and their contributions as entrepreneurs. In LA County, our median immigrant, this is actually old data, more than 4 out of 5 immigrants in LA County have lived here for more than a decade. That number is actually higher now, 6 years on from when this data comes from. So when we're talking about immigrants in LA County, including undocumented immigrants, these are people who've been a part of the fabric of the community, often for a very long time, and have deep ties, families, roots here, and are, needless to say, many of the first people who were impacted by the crisis in the service sectors, and others who've not only lost employment first, but then have much less access to the social services safety net that we have in place. And I'm going to walk through that a little bit. Despite having been long-term residents, paying taxes, contributing to the system and the growth of the economy, unfortunately, the immigrant communities are often left out. And so before we dig into the laundry list of benefits that may or may not be available to immigrants, wanted to address this issue of public charge. So this may be a term that is familiar to many of you. Public charge, a full presentation on this topic takes 30 to 45 minutes alone, but just in a real nutshell, public charge is a ground of exclusion. It's a part of federal law that allows the Immigration Service to deny people entry to the United States in certain circumstances, or to deny permanent residence to people who are here applying for a green card here in the United States. And so it's been in our federal law for a long time, This administration went through a overhaul of the regulations, reinterpreting what this public charge test means. And so this went into effect February 24th. The administration there had been rumors of this since 2017. And so, and one of the concerns about reinterpreting this public charge test that the administration was warned about, one of the main concerns came from public health advocates who said, if we found ourselves in a national sort of public health crisis, making this unnecessary change could have deep impacts on communities across the country, immigrant and non-immigrant alike. And lo and behold, you see the date that the rule went into effect. Shortly after that, we did find ourselves in this pandemic. So in reality, this test, again, only applies to immigrants seeking to come into the country and people who are here applying for green cards, but there has been, then applies to immigrants applying for green cards through certain channels, generally through a family-based or employment-based petition. It doesn't impact many immigrants, and many public benefits do not create a public charge problem, but there's been enormous confusion around this, causing lots of immigrants to disenroll from benefits before February 24th, or not seek services that they may need and may in fact be eligible for, or that their household members may need or be eligible for. And so I'm going to jump into the next, just have that as sort of a backdrop here, this public charge issue as we get into these various benefits. So as for COVID-19 related testing and treatment, as I think most of you are aware, the city and the county now have a website where a person, symptomatic or not, can receive free testing, can go online, schedule an appointment with priority given to people who are symptomatic. This is available to people regardless of immigration status. And towards the bottom of the screen, you'll see reference that, first of all, medical information is confidential, so immigrants, regardless of status, can access these services without concern that they may come in under the radar of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, but also the Department of Homeland Security, despite implementing this new public charge rule, has clarified publicly in writing on their website that no services related to testing, treatment, preventative care, if there ever is any, related to COVID-19 will be factored into this public charge test. So we've been doing our best from the outset to get that message out broadly to the community, because there has been so much fear. Beyond that, for folks who are not dealing with COVID or the need for COVID testing, the LA County has a health insurance program for people who are 26 and older and uninsured. It's called My Health LA. You see the info here on the screen. It's available to people regardless of immigration status. If they reside in the county, they don't have insurance, and their income is below a certain threshold. So really important for folks to understand that because this is a locally funded program, immigrants who enroll in it will not be determined in the future to be a public charge if they go through an immigration process where there is a public charge test. Immigrants who are not 26 years old can qualify for Medi-Cal. If they're undocumented, the state of California has made the Medi-Cal program available, and so through state funding exclusively. Because the program is not federally funded, neither Medi-Cal for people up to age 25 or this local My Health LA County funded program for people 26 or older, enrolling and receiving care through those programs does not make an immigrant a public charge. Really important so that people don't have to wait until they have an emergency to seek the care, the treatment that they need. So please do share that information, and we will make these slides available afterwards. Then I want to jump in to some of the important resources. So unemployment insurance, obviously a critical benefit for millions of people nationwide who've lost their jobs due to the crisis. Unemployment insurance does require that a person have been employment authorized during their period of employment. and then during the period where they would receive the unemployment insurance payments. So a person must be employment authorized. A person who has DACA generally, well, is employment authorized. They have a work permit. People in other statuses like temporary protected status that are employment authorized are individuals who can access unemployment insurance if they're laid off or fired. People who don't have immigration status cannot, unfortunately, access the program, including the state benefits and the expanded CARES Act $600 a month federal augmentation. More on CARES Act in a moment. While undocumented immigrants cannot receive unemployment, they are, and they may be eligible if they've paid into the system through withholdings in their paychecks, as many undocumented immigrants do have money withheld from their paychecks. They are sort of not, they're not all under the table employees, a common myth. They may be eligible for disability insurance or paid family leave like anyone else in California. As for this public charge concern, unemployment, disability, family leave, workers' comp, these are all what are classified as earned benefits. Therefore, receiving them does not raise a public charge concern for the eligible immigrant, okay? And then our disaster center that my colleague Chris Olmos will talk about later has support for folks accessing some of these benefits, as does the Office of Immigrant Affairs. And then moving into food resources, we do have the LA County Regional Food Bank that has a network of hundreds of pantries that distribute food in various sites. They update this multiple times a day. Folks can access the food distribution sites regardless of their immigration status. And then on our OIA, Office of Immigrant Affairs dedicated page, we have other food and nutrition resources and options, including a senior meal delivery program for folks over 60, regardless of their immigration status, that they may be able to access. Okay, so go there for more information. And then the other thing to point out that while immigrants may not be eligible for certain benefits like CalWorks and CalFresh, the food stamp program, on account of lack of immigration status, their household members may often qualify. For example, their US citizen children. Many immigrants have held off on accessing those resources out of the public charge concern that I mentioned. However, one of the common myths is that children receiving benefits will result in the parent being determined to be a public charge in the future if they go through an immigration process where they're subject to the test. And in fact, the final rule that was implemented in February does not count against an immigrant and the applying immigrant public benefits that their household members may have received, okay? So we're available at the Office of Immigrant Affairs to answer questions about this and then help individuals access the DPSS services that their household members may be potentially eligible for. Okay, and then I'm not going to spend much time on housing assistance because my colleague will, I think, address that as well. And but the county and the city and many of the other cities in the county have enacted various eviction moratoriums, and our rent stabilization unit and our disaster center can help people navigate the rules in their particular jurisdiction, whether the LA County rules apply to them if they're in an unincorporated area, or if they're in one of the other cities that may have enacted a ban on evictions during the emergency period. And then there is a limited rental assistance program for people in certain unincorporated areas. Info there, an additional program that is being worked on, and again, more information can be provided through our rent stabilization unit. And then want to talk briefly about the CARES Act and the stimulus payment. So that folks are aware of, if people's income, for an individual below 99,000, a couple below 150, there's a formula for this stimulus that taxpayers were able to receive from the CARES Act. This excluded people who lacked a valid social security number. A person must have a valid social and meet certain immigration status requirements to qualify. This is not a public charge concern for a non-citizen. It's a tax rebate, not a public benefit, but individuals, even US citizens who did a tax filing with, say, a spouse who lacked immigration status, who may use an ITIN, a taxpayer identification number, those households were locked out of this CARES Act stimulus. Just want to re-emphasize that even US citizens excluded from this if their tax filing was done with a non-citizen spouse who files with a taxpayer ID number because they lack immigration status. There are pending lawsuits, Florida lawsuits pending around the country on this. Has had a big impact on immigrant households. And then the expanded unemployment benefits through the CARES Act, the $600 a week on top of the state unemployment, again, as I mentioned, not available to people who lack immigration status. California has stepped in to backfill a small portion of this through this disaster relief assistance program for immigrants that I'll get into more on the next slide here. And so this program will provide up to $500 per individual with a cap of $1,000 per household to individuals who were locked out of the federal benefits, unemployment, expanded unemployment, or the stimulus on account of their lack of immigration status. So to qualify for the state program, a person has to be over 18, lack immigration status, not have been eligible for these federal programs, and then have experienced a hardship related to the pandemic, which most folks will have no trouble demonstrating that. But in order to apply, this program was announced just about a month ago. It will be launched on Monday. There are 12 organizations around the state that are implementing the program. They're nonprofit immigration legal service providers. Any immigrant who wants to access the program must apply through one of the 12 organizations. In LA County, there are 3. I've listed them here on the screen, their websites and their phone numbers. They will not be helping people apply until Monday. So individuals who may qualify should not contact them in advance. And then they will have a limited application period. Sadly, we have, I mentioned nearly 900,000 individuals in LA County who lack immigration status. Only about 40,000 people will receive assistance through this program. There is a philanthropic effort to raise additional funds to cover possibly as many as 30,000+ more individuals. But either way, this is going to only reach perhaps 8% of the undocumented population if that funding comes through. So limited window, it's going to be done on a first come, first served basis. I have the link here to the state page for more information on the program. But if you have folks you interact with that want to access the program, they need to go through the 3 organizations, one of the 3 on the screen. Okay, and then really briefly before I conclude, because I think I'm at time, the Supreme Court will be making a decision in the DACA, the administration's challenge, the attempt to take away the DACA program that was challenged in court. And there were several lawsuits filed on this work permit program that the prior administration began in 2012 to give individuals who came to the United States as youth. They were brought here generally by their parents, often at a very young age, to allow them to come out of the shadows, get work authorization, move forward with their lives. We have over 750,000 people nationally who currently hold the status. LA is by far the largest, the largest concentration of any urban center in the US is in LA County. The Supreme Court will be making a decision between now and the end of June as to whether to allow the administration to end the program as it tried to do in 2017, rescind those work permits in some fashion, or whether the program will remain at least for a time. And so just wanted to flag that this is an issue of enormous concern to a lot of young people who've been educated here in our system, who've made economic contributions, who have deep family ties, who generally know no other country than the United States. And so the impact of this case will be felt far and wide, but very deeply here in LA. The Office of Immigrant Affairs will be convening some events post-decision and at least one in the next few weeks. Before the decision, folks can check our OIA website that I mentioned here for information about upcoming events. As soon as we have a date scheduled, we'll put it there. And then finally, so we have a dedicated coronavirus resource page focused on immigrants. The link is there on your screen. We have media briefings actually happening every Thursday afternoon at 2:30, going on right now. If you want to sign up through the DCBA or Office of Immigrant Affairs website to get the alerts about those, you can. And then individuals can schedule if you have a large group of individuals needing information, there's contact info on your screen if you want to reach out to us about scheduling a separate event. And then impacted immigrants can call the phone number as well and then get routed to one of our counselors for their individual questions. Okay, so with that, I will wrap. Happy to take questions now or at the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for your contribution. We do have two questions. One of them regarding one of your slides that reads COVID resources. One of the phone numbers, it seems to be missing a digit. It reads 833-238-445, and it cuts off right there. I think there's like a missing digit on that phone number. If I'm asking if we can somehow amend that, and then just check amend it and send us the slides.
I will absolutely do that.
I'm going to attendees.
By all means, I will check to see where that error is and correct it. Thank you.
Go back. The other slide, Daniel? Before that
here
one?
It is. I see. You know what?
Yeah, if you could just...
Yeah. We'll correct it in the presentation, and my colleague Chris Olmos will address it in his presentation as well.
And just to make sure the number, do you know on the top of your head what it is? That we can post it in the chat room.
I am.
I believe
I'm drawing a blank right here. If one of my the last digit is 0. Thank you, Chris.
Good.
Appreciate it. Yes, my apologies.
Great. Okay, and then there is a question for you, Daniel.
Yes.
The question reads, how does someone know if they have a public charge against them? Is there a website that anybody could visit and look it up?
So unfortunately, that can be a difficult issue to sort out. It can require legal advice from an attorney, but I would just to say a couple brief things on that, or one brief thing. The most common question we've gotten at the Office of Immigrant Affairs is, am I subject to, am I potentially a public charge for receiving whatever benefit? I'm a green card holder. And so green card holders, legal permanent residents, are not subject to the test unless they leave the country for 6 months or longer in one shot and then try to come back in. And so there are a lot of these common scenarios that we're able to resolve very easily when the public contacts our counselors. And so we have a group of people trained in this issue who can answer lots of these questions. When they're more specific and nuanced, and require advice in a specific case, we refer people to legal aid organizations with attorneys that can advise them about that. But again, a large number of these issues we're able to resolve in our office, and often very quickly.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. So at this moment, do we have any further questions? There's none posted in the chat room.
Great.
Okay, I think we're good, and we're gonna go ahead and move on.
Thank you so much for that information. All of the slides will be provided to all of the attendees. Also, this meeting is recorded, so we will also be sending a copy to anybody that attended the meeting. Now we're going to go ahead and have the Department of Mental Health, Ms. Tracy Andrews. She's going to go ahead and go over a few resources. This month is Mental Health Awareness, so it looks like she does have a few resources to share with us. Tracy, are you able to share your screen?
Yes, ma'am. Are you seeing it?
All right, Tracy, we're ready when you are.
All right. Well, thank you so much for asking the Department of Mental Health to be on this important call with you all. It's a little bit of a turn from everything that's been talked about thus far. So hope it works for you guys. I will. Oh, that's not working. Hold on, I think it's loading. Thinking. There we go. So what I'm going to briefly do is just give you a groundwork of a very simple campaign that we just like to inform people on. It's called Know the Signs. It's actually Know the 5 Signs. And I'll briefly go over through the different things that you would want to be mindful of for yourself, but also for someone you know and love, especially during this time of COVID. You know, it's hard to practice physical distancing and to be able to just pop over to somebody's house like we used to, but there are still ways to stay connected, social and emotionally, and just to ensure that people are okay. And if you know somebody that has struggled a little bit before COVID, you might want to just increase some of that outreach and just some of that connection a little bit more. So some five signs that we just want to go over just briefly. The first one would be your personality changes. It's just so you just don't feel like yourself. So or maybe someone you really care about, they just don't seem like themselves. And again, given all the stressors that are going on, we've had some really great presentations and they're talking about some really stressful situations. So it could be a culmination of those things, or a job loss or fear of getting sick, which are perfectly normal to feel, but just checking on that person and saying like, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? The other thing that we would just want to make sure is if we're seeing these mood changes, are they consistent? Are you seeing a lot of agitation, anxiety, just anger? And again, a lot of these behaviors are normal. And so maybe just asking, hey, what's going on? You know, and finding out if it is circumstantial, because there are a lot of stressors going on, but just being present to ask those questions, and just checking to see if those changes are consistent, and just seem a little bit more than just some of the stressors we're dealing with COVID. The third thing we would want to really be aware of is this isolation and withdrawing. Again, because of this safer at home orders, you know, we are told to stay at home as much as possible. And so there is definitely a physical distancing that is instituted in that. However, we also want to be aware if there are opportunities to engage somebody, a phone call, a text, doing some of these virtual get-togethers. Is the person just not interested at all? And, you know, all of us have those days where, you know, we're just kind of burned out. I know that I certainly have. But again, we just want to keep track and see, are these more days than not? The fourth sign is just this personal hygiene and neglect. Let's be honest, we all have our days where we're just going to stay in our sweats, right? We might put on a nice shirt up top, but you know, we might be rocking those sweatpants or those shorts down below. But this is really more about just letting themselves go, not showering, just not really caring. This is where you might start to see some destructive behaviors too. So again, if you know somebody that has dealt with some substance abuse in the past, or really some self-destructive behavior, maybe this is where you know somebody, or you yourself maybe have engaged in self-injurious behaviors in the past, perhaps a previous suicide attempt. Again, these are the things that we want to just be a little bit more aware of during these times. And then the last one, the most pertinent one, is just this hopelessness, and just these feelings of feeling overwhelmed. A person at this time could be saying things, blanket statements like, man, you know, my family might be better off if I wasn't here. Or they may say like, man, I just want to die. Those are some things to be aware of. And again, being okay to ask, hey, are you okay? What's going on? it can be scary. It can be really scary, but it's worth it for yourself and for your loved ones to ask those questions. So one of the things that is really important is maintaining this social connectedness. We know right now it is just kind of an uneasy time, and we hear all these different analogies are going on and saying, oh, we're all in this together. We're all in the same boat. We're not all in the same boat. We're not all in the same boat, but we all are in the same storm, but all of us are dealing with it in different ways. And so it's really important to stay connected and to make sure that you identify what works for you. If you can set up Skype parties or Zoom parties, and whatever is going to work for you so that you feel connected, that's really important. And once again, this is where we want to make sure if we know people that have engaged in risky behaviors or attempted suicide in the past, we want to definitely make sure that we're checking on them. Briefly want to touch on self-care. There's so many, it's kind of the cool hippie buzzword now, right? Self-care, self-care, self-care. We do that really well in California, making up all these really cool buzzwords, right? But self-care isn't a buzzword. It's actually a real thing. And so a lot of times we make excuses and say, I don't need to, I'm strong enough for that. That's self-care stuff. That's for the other guys. That's not for me. It's for all of us. And we need to make sure that we take the time to check ourselves, to check our own temperatures and say, hey, what do I need right now? And that could be, I just need 3 minutes in the bathroom by myself, all right? That could be taking a walk with your mask outside. That could be, taking a walk with your family and your kids. It could be a variety of things, but it could be journaling, it could be reading. But it's really important that you take that time to take a deep breath. Because we are in unprecedented times, and it is important to acknowledge that and to acknowledge this is not normal. And sometimes just saying it out loud can also relieve us a little bit. So please figure out what makes you feel good, and it's not overindulgence, it's important. Just some of our community resources that are available to you. The Department of Mental Health has an access warm line that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 211 is a great resource. Also want to make sure that you all know that the domestic violence shelters are up and running, restraining orders, you can receive them. If you know somebody that's in danger, please reach out and get them help. There are shelters that are still working and can work with an individual or with families. Okay, that's really important. Also, there's some really great apps out there. If you are interested, there's this great app, it's the UCLA Mindful app, and I'm not a meditation person. I really wish I was. I've tried, but it's so hard. But what I can do is I can listen to music. So I might not be able to get into that visualization place yet, but I can listen to some music and sit still. So these are some really great things just to consider. The Virtual Hope Box is a really great tool that we really recommend. This is great if you have somebody that has actually attempted suicide before you're able to put in your safety plan, you're able to put in people to contact if you are in crisis, and it's a great app. So check out these apps. Lastly, just want to touch on a couple of hotlines. We did discuss the warm line for teens. If you know, for the teens and tweens, they have, they can text to the teen line right now. Pre-COVID, they had a helpline for teens answered by teens with the support of adult clinicians, but right now they're only accepting text at this time just due to the stay-at-home orders. The disaster distress helpline and also the National Suicide Prevention Line, those are both answered by Dee Hirsch here locally in Los Angeles County. And if you are more comfortable in Spanish, please press 2 for both of those lines. The disaster distress helpline is a great line for everybody. It's really, if it's a natural disaster, a man-made disaster, exactly for what we're going through right now. This is great for essential workers, frontline workers, first responders. It's for everybody, but it is really tailored to those essential workers and first responders. So please take advantage of this and never hesitate to call one of these these helplines. Even the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, you don't have to be in thoughts of suicide to receive support. So please do not let that deter you. And then lastly, I just want to end with this blessing for essential workers. And so it says, may you be shielded from harm. May you remain steady and strong. May you be heartened by a renewed sense of purpose. May you receive kindness, gratitude, and grace from all who rely on you. May you be supported and protected by the people you serve, and may you be lifted up and valued every bit as much as you are needed. I thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this, and I thank you for all of the work that you guys are doing as you are all essential workers. So thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Oh, okay. All right. So thank you so much for that information. Again, the slides will be shared. If you didn't get a chance to get those numbers down or the names of the apps, they will be available to you via email after this webinar. Now we're going to go ahead and have Christian Olmos give us a few details regarding the Disaster Help Center. Christian, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm right here. Did you see my screen?
Yes, we're able to see it.
Okay, so I know we are a little behind on time, so I'll try to be brief. So my name is Christian Olmos. I'm the chief over the Office of Small Business. Normally, my programs assist entrepreneurs who are interested in launching a business, and actually businesses who are interested in government contracting opportunities. But because of the COVID-19 crisis, we've decided to shift our focus to really assist those really impacted. So I do want to first start by saying that the county is engaging every resource available to ensure that our business community is resilient and supported through this crisis. And so, and everybody can see the slides, right?
Yes, we're able to see it.
Perfect. I apologize for that. It kind of lagged on my end. So as such, on March 26th, our department, in partnership with the LA County Development Authority and the Workforce Development Aging and Community Services, launched a disaster help center and actually a web portal. This is the homepage of that web portal. And so, as you can see, the focus of this the web portal and the help center actually has three key functions. One, it operates as a single point of entry for businesses, for workers, nonprofits, homeowners, landlords, and tenants who need access to resources or information to help them through this COVID-19 crisis. So if you need assistance, most likely the center can find a way to help you. The second key function is the web portal itself. It centralizes county, local, state, and federal resources into a single online platform to make it easy for our community to find the resources that they need. And then the last key function is that the center actually provides one-on-one assistance directly to clients. Actually, clients seeking assistance can call, email, or connect with our staff, and you'll actually receive, connect with a live operator. It will not be endless messages. So you can connect via phone, email, online with a staff person and learn about all the available resources and information that can help you through this difficult time. Clients can receive, for example, guidance on how to access small business resources, such as access to capital, emergency funding and grants, layoff aversion, unemployment benefits, and other community, local, state, and federal programs. Clients can also get guidance on the county's recent eviction moratorium, the temporary rent freeze, rental assistance, as well as the Department of Public Health's most recent roadmap to recovery plan, so that you can open your business safely while protecting your employees and the public. I'm also happy to say that the center can assist you in your language. We actually have capacity to assist you in English, Spanish, Korean, Armenian, Cantonese, Mandarin, Russian, Farsi, and Vietnamese. And so as needs arise and languages are needed, we find a person that can speak it so we can help you. With that being said, and I know we're pressed for time, I do want to say that if you have a specific issue or question that you want to ask us, please reach out to us. We can be reached via, like I said, online at lacountyhelpcenter.org, at 833-238-4450. You can actually call us Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturday 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And as always, you could always email us at disasterhelpcenter@lacounty.gov. You can even reach out to us via our social media handles. Somebody will respond to you. So please reach out to us if you have any questions, concerns. I'm sure there's some way we can help you through this COVID-19 crisis. And with that, I'll pause to see if you have any questions.
All right, any questions? Okay, so if we missed anybody's question, feel free to go ahead and ask now. We are going to go ahead and go over AJCC resources. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Business Service Representative Manuel Castañeda, to go ahead about some AJCC resources that are available to the employer and of course some job seekers. Go ahead, Manuel.
Thank you, Karina. So as you guys know, here in the Southeast LA AJCC, we're dedicating to helping employers, businesses, help them in questions of like customized job recruitments and no-cost job postings. And at this moment, helping them conduct virtual recruitments. So if you have, open job positions, then here in our center, we will identify qualified candidates and make the introduction either via, virtual, assessment. All that is done at no cost to the employer. Also in-house, we have the rapid response team. Now, the rapid response team is dedicated to helping businesses who are experiencing economic hardships. So either they're going through layoffs or they're potentially closing. Then the rapid response team will go ahead and, conduct an assessment with the employer and talk about layoff aversion, possible retraining for these employees, and ultimately, help these laid off employees find a new job. And that's essentially, the benefits that we offer here in the AJCC.
Thank you so much for that information. Do we have Lane for Veterans AJCC?
Thank you, Karina. Hello, everyone. So we're similar to Manny's agency and offer similar services. However, Veterans AJCC is located in downtown LA. We're located at the historic all-military building, Bob Hope Patriotic Hall. We're the only all-veterans agency in the county. So if you're interested in hiring veterans, we can also assist you with hiring benefits and tax credits associated with employing our local heroes. Additionally, we also provide many of the same services that Manny mentioned, including but not limited to no cost staffing and recruitment support. We also provide on-the-job training grants, which is designed to help reduce the cost of your training budget. So if you're interested in learning more, please feel free to reach out to me or our business service team at Veterans AJCC. Thank you, Karina.
Thank you so much for that information. In the screen, you do see the AJCC Veterans AJCC Lane Hadnot's contact information. If you should have any questions, feel free to go ahead and take this information down. We do have Southeast LAAJCC's information, Veterans AJCC, and East Los Angeles, West San Gabriel Valley's information. This was put together in collaboration with Region 2 AJCCs, which are the ones that you do see on the screen. All right, so thank you everyone for joining us. I do want to thank the guest speakers for making time for us and giving us all of the useful resources for employers and for covering the topics of worker rights and resources during COVID-19. Again, these slides will be shared with all of the attendees via email. If you should have any questions in the original flyer, we do have the contact information of the organizers, which would be myself and Manuel Castañeda. If you should have any questions, feel free to email us, or any special requests, feel free to email us. We will go ahead and be getting back to you as soon as possible. And also, I do want to advise and thank everyone for joining us. We will be sending out a satisfaction survey. It's going to take less than a minute to fill it out. So if you can go ahead and do us a favor of letting us know how satisfied and how useful was this webinar to you, it's going to go ahead and help us out in the future, so that way we can go ahead and put together more useful webinars that are going to be able to help all of us during this pandemic. Do you have any questions at the moment? Any last questions before we wrap it up? So I'm going to go ahead and be providing the slides with the email that was provided when you registered for the Zoom event. Unless you requested, if you want to update, give us an updated email. If that's not the one that was used, feel free to contact me. It should be on the original flyer, my information. Just go ahead and send me a quick email, and I will go ahead and provide you the slides and the recording of this webinar. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much everyone for joining us. You have been a great audience, very great questions, and we will be putting together another webinar soon with a different topic. And once we have that topic and we have it all organized, you will be receiving an invite. Thank you all so much for joining. And